Hey, what's going on? My name is Bim, and this is the OPPO Reno6 Z 5G. Alright, full disclosure, they sent this to me, the representatives of OPPO, they got in touch with me, they sent it to me to play around with, to test out and to review. They lent it to me for 2 weeks, and I've been using it as like my daily driver. But, truth be told, I've just been using it mostly for gaming. Let's take a look at what is inside the box. So I just repackaged everything just so I could show you what it comes with. It comes with a jelly case and your standard set of instructions and paper. And here's the phone. Oops. There it is in all its glory. I'll show it later a bit more close up. Sorry, I got a little dusty. Then it does come with a charger, charging cable, and earphones. So yes, it does have a 3.5mm jack, which is amazing. So it comes in 2 colors, Aurora and Stellar Black. This one is Stellar Black. And the reason I bring that up is because in terms of size, they're slightly different. Both are 160.20 millimeters, 73.38 millimeters wide. But in terms of thickness, and this is a very nice slim phone, the Aurora is 7.97 millimeters. Stellar Black is 7.92 millimeters. So it's a little thinner. The Stellar Black's a little thinner. And they both weigh about 173 grams. Now, it's not a light phone. It's not a super light phone, but it's not a heavy phone. I feel like it strikes that nice balance. In terms of memory, you do have like 8 gigabytes of RAM, which you can expand with the RAM expansion feature, and 128 gigabytes of storage, which is expandable with your SD cards. USB is USB 2.0, USB-C as well, Type-C, and it supports OTG. Display, 6.4 inches this way, 90.8% screen-to-body ratio, a resolution of 2400 by 1080, refresh rate of 60 Hz. The OPPO Reno6 5G, without the Z, has a refresh rate of, if I'm not mistaken, 90 Hz. This one is 60 Hz. Oops. And the panel is an AMOLED screen, so it looks really nice. There are 3 lenses, as you can see in the back. One is a 64 megapixel main camera with an f-stop of 1.7 and a field of view of 79 degrees. An ultra-wide camera with an f-stop of 2.2. That is an 8 megapixel wide angle camera with a field of view of 119 degrees. And a 2 megapixel macro camera with an f-stop of 2.4 and a field of view of 88 degrees. The front camera, right here, the front camera is 32 megapixels with an f-stop of 2.4 with an 85 degree field of view. If you were to take video, and actually I'm pretty impressed with the video capabilities of this thing. Rear camera supports up to 4K, 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, and 720p at 30 frames per second. It does 1080p at 720p at 30 frames per second by default, but you could up-res it to like 1080p. Retouch is turned on by default. That's when it kind of beautifies your face. So for the chips, CPU is a Dimensity 800U. CPU speed, so you've got 8 cores with a maximum frequency of 2.4 gigahertz. Your GPU is an ARM G57MC3. In terms of battery life, which is also something I am quite impressed by. So it's a 4220 milliamp hour battery rated value, or 4310 milliamp hour typical value. It does support fast charge as well. For biometrics, it supports an in-display fingerprint sensor, meaning it's not on the back or it's not anywhere else, and it supports also face unlock. SIM cards, you can have 2 dual nano SIM cards. So yeah, check out the website for the full list of specifications. All right, let's talk about the look and feel of the phone. Let's first talk about the plastic. So it does come in 2 colors, Aurora, which is kind of like, a rainbow, kind of like a chameleon color. The color kind of depends on the way the light bounces off the phone. This is Stellar Black, which is what they call the shiniest black, and it is quite shiny. See, and depending on the way the light hits it, it looks like a different shade. See, it looks purple like this. I love it. I love purple. Look at that. So it is quite sexy. It does look really nice. Unfortunately, the plastic itself, I'm not a big fan of because it is quite slippery. It feels a little too slippery for me. The phone that I have, the plastic on the back is a bit grippier, which I like a little more. But this isn't too bad, especially if you're used to something like this. It does come with a jelly case. Before I get to the jelly case, I want to talk about the slim form factor. Look at that. Super thin, super easy to hold in one hand. The power button is usually manipulated by your right thumb. If you're a righty, power buttons are on this side, up and down here. And if you want to take a screenshot, you just squeeze like this. The thing is, if you put the case included in the package, since it's a jelly case, you lose the unique slim feel of the phone, and it becomes a generic jelly case. And I am an advocate. I'll always say this about any phone. Don't put a case on it. Be an adult. Don't drop your phone. All right, let's talk about the fingerprint sensor. The thing I don't like about it is how bright it gets. It's like this, and you want to open it up. There's a bright light that surrounds your thumb. It's not obvious now because I've got a ton of lights pointed at the product, but imagine you're in a theater or somewhere dark and you need to unlock your phone. That is immediately obvious because of how bright. It's very quick, right? But still, it's a little off-putting. Ergonomically, I'm also not a fan of having the fingerprint sensor in front, because when you're holding your phone like this, which is the normal way humans hold phones, right? It makes sense to to unlock something from the back, like so, yeah? Just easier versus moving your thumb down here. At least I think so. Because then after you unlock it, then you shift your hand again to accommodate for normal use. One of the best features of the OPPO 6Z 5G is the camera. So I'm not a photographer, so I don't necessarily have any expertise when it comes to photography or videography. But here's what I did like about the camera, the little that I can speak of at least. So I like the background blurring. So when you're taking portrait shots, if you enable AI portrait mode in the portrait mode, the results are pretty good. Despite me having only toys to play around with because no one would pose for me, the backgrounds turned out pretty nice. Macro, you could actually really get super close to your subjects, and if you're like a toy photographer, that will actually work well in your favor. When you're taking pictures of something that is heavily backlit, the phone does do a good job of kind of bringing out your subject, balancing out that light. Dual view video is really fun, especially when I'm playing games with my daughter. That's really nice. The only, I think, nitpick I have with, and I don't know, I'm just going to try to explain this as best I can. The only nitpick I have with the way my photos turned out, especially when I was comparing it to photos from another phone that I had, is that the pictures on the Reno6 Z 5G, whenever there were heavy shadows, the phone would do its best to kind of compensate for the shadows and bring out the latent like color instead of just making the shadows dark. So in this picture of Daredevil taken with two cameras, the shadows were a lot more apparent in my other phone versus the Reno6. But it's not necessarily bad. It's just a matter of what you want to achieve in a photo. So if you were looking for these heavily contrasted shadows, then you might have a hard time with the Reno6 Z 5G. It could be a setting that I'm just missing right? But or I don't know, angle or something. But it turned out to be the case with most of my pictures. So yeah, that's my only nitpick. But everything else about it was pretty good. All right, let's talk about gaming. The RAM expansion tool is pretty neat. So you could, I think you'd go up to 8 gigabytes. Let me check. Searched for it. RAM expansion. So yeah, you could go and expand it by 5 gigabytes. So it does already come with like 8 gigabytes. So you expand it by an extra 5, which is cool. So that makes for some pretty good, pretty smooth gaming. The gaming assistant is pretty cool too. So you pull it from the upper left corner and it shows you CPU usage, GPU usage, your frame rate. And you see these messaging apps here, messaging tools. This is where you kind of assign which ones you allow. So let's say I'm allowing messages like SMS, right? So as I'm playing, if I do get an SMS, instead of keeping me oblivious, although you can do that, you can just ignore everything. You can turn on game focus mode and it just ignores everything, even calls maybe, I think. Does it ignore calls? Yep, it ignores incoming calls. Maybe don't do that, you know. With this, you can choose which ones you want to entertain. So you can reject calls, but you get messages. So instead of you being taken out of the game completely, the message scrolls here on top, and it's very non-intrusive. You could still read it. If it's an emergency or whatever, you could get on it. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. Plus, one quality of life thing that I really enjoy with this game assist mode is that from in-game, you can manipulate your brightness. See? I won't have to pull this down and do whatever. Just from here, right? And when I'm done, I tap out. So yes, the OPPO Reno6 Z 5G is available already. If you want good gaming performance and... Wait, let me kill this guy. If you want good gaming performance and a fantastic camera and an amazing battery, then yeah, this you can't really go wrong. Thank you guys for watching the video. It would really help me out if you guys subscribed. I think like 93% or more of you guys are not subscribed, and it would be amazing if you would just click that clicky the subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See you guys. I'm just gonna frag some bots. Ah!